Hey guys, getting some stuff fixed up here. Might have some drop frames here for a second. Should be fine though. Me no sleep, me sleepy. Moves back to the class. Hey Amos, how you doing? Welcome everybody from YouTube and Twitch who is watching us tonight. My name is Paul. This is the Astropub. Let me get to the proper screen here. Hope everything's working. Hey guys, what's up? Hopefully you guys can hear me pretty well. Hey Bob, Fallout. No, you're not joining as it ends, you're joining as it's beginning. Hopefully my camera isn't too off. Try to fix that real quick. Configure. Look at me, I'm jaundice. That's not bad. Hello and welcome. Hey, Jeremy, be good. Long time fan, love the Lord. Thank you for watching. Yeah. Hey, Spirian, I'm doing good, man. So if you ever ask questions in chat, we're going to hang out for about 2 hours doing our typical Galactic Historian office hours. For those of you who don't know what this is, it's where I talk about lore. But we talk about lore, we talk about the game, we just kind of hang out and chat. I was going to normally do it yesterday, but I was just exhausted because I wasn't used to getting up early. So I got some sleep and felt better now. With boredom, it's my personal schedule is pretty much the same as normal. Yeah, I know the feeling, man. Like my principal basically told me today, we had a, like my department had a meeting with the principal, and the principal was like, hey, the district doesn't know what the fuck it's doing, so if you're teaching kids, stop. I'm like, okay. It's like, because if you grade, if you do any assignments or anything like that, it may not be considered legal. So it's like, oh, okay. Luckily, we hadn't done any new stuff for school. It was just, I was just letting them do their old makeup work. And, so I hadn't graded anything. This is all stuff that was previous weeks. Sleep is a good thing, yeah. Did you add this to the playlist? To the Galactic Historian playlist? Yeah, it'll be added here shortly. It shouldn't be added to the Galactic Historian. I gotta change that real quick. Studio. No. Playlist. Save. There we go. All right, so I have to fix this up real quickly. And I'm just gonna put the old thumbnail on it. Probably just use one thumbnail for this or recycle it a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I took it off the playlist. My problem is I just got to figure out, because I set this up so that every time YouTube saw something that says Galactic Historian, that it puts it onto the playlist. And I'm like, because this is a separate thing. But yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. So how am I doing? Is the family doing well? Sort of. Cam has to work, and she hates it. Because she's stressed out beyond belief, and they're making her work. She doesn't have to talk to anybody, like, physically. But she's got a shit ton of work, and she's stressed out about dealing with people when she has to. Did I submit my status report to the administrator today? Sort of. Do I see an opportunity to fill the void when the lore team isn't prominent as before? Especially with the Lore Maker's Guide. You talking about Galactic Historian, Jason? Or Jesse? Thanks, man. Hey, Lucas. Nice. Oh, okay. Hey, Darsh, how you doing, buddy? No problem, Vigna. Doing long streams now. This is going to be an 8-hour stream. If you guys haven't, if you guys want to see a serialized version of the Fall of Olympus, it's part 3 of that story is up on RSS website right now. Kind of. I mean, my hope is the reason why the lore team isn't doing a lot of lore stuff right now and isn't being around lore with the community has more to do with the fact that they're working on Squadron and or working on getting the lore into the game. And so they're putting a lot of time and effort trying to get that sorted out. Because there's a lot of stuff they need to do. And I know there's at least 3 members of the lore team. I think there's only 3 now. There used to be 4. So... like the jump down thing, which is funny because I'm going to show off the jump down thing once it's done rendering in about 4 minutes. So here's the thing I'm going to be doing about the Jump Town Wars. The Jump Town Wars right now is sitting at about 18, 19 minutes. And that's a pretty good length for an episode of the Galactic Historian. But I'm at part 3 of 9, or of 8. So I've got another 5 parts to do. And luckily, like part 4 and part 8 are pretty small in comparisons. So what my plan is to I got to do some corrections here and there for the one that I'm about to give you guys a preview for. But I'm going to go in and add titles, add full scrolling, credits to all the people who I've taken footage from, and voice actors, and all that kind of stuff. If you notice why it's freezing a little bit, it's because it's still rendering. And call that part 1, and then do a part 2, finish the second part and call that part 2. And when I finish part 1, part 2, like a month after that, I'll put them both together and release it as one big documentary, as a 40-minute documentary. So that way, those of you guys who want it get a chance to see it. 24-hour stream? Ha ha ha. They did, yeah. It's about I don't know really if it's new. It's part 3 of a story. It's essentially a story about the pirates of. Let me look it up again. I remember the name of it. It's not Charon. Caliban. Yeah, Caliban, which is technically a Vanduul system. There we go. File. Save that. Going to in and out. Close that. Yes. Okay. Shut that down. Okay. I should probably put up the retweet command because I haven't done that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the Star Citizen universe you can set up. Instrument surrender, yeah. Watching now, that's how it's not. It's actually Utho Riley. It's UTHO space RILEY. Really, Riley. He's a composer. He does a lot of Star Citizen work. He's a fan of Star Citizen, and I almost always have him in the background of my musics. He actually did all of the the music for the Galactic Historian. So all of like my title song and the song you usually hear playing underneath the episodes, that's all Utho Riley. It's all original stuff, which is pretty cool. That's for those who don't know. I think it doesn't really help for those who are in YouTube. The instruments surrender. Question: where is it mentioned that the UE Navy hunted and killed squatters in Stanton? Eagle, it's in it was in the video from CitizenCon 2016, and I didn't say killed, I said removed, which is also a euphemism. So because that's technically what lore says. Let me put up the link for you guys. Hold on. Find the link real quick. It was Loremaker's Guide to 3.3, I believe. Yeah. It was Loremaker's Guide. Shut up, me from the past.
Please welcome narrative director Dave Haddock and lead.
Here, I'll put it in chat, but I'll also pull it up here. Boop. Boop.
Allowed to purchase in one lot, and they were pushing for this, and that gave some members in Senate a little bit of a slower process. So on the back end of this, ArcCorp cash opportunity, so they start getting it ready for the.
They took the jump data and sold it to the UEE, who walked in and was like, "Sweet, 3 planets and a gas giant. Let's take that."
So this is coming on the heels.
They're listening to it.
You know, they've been dumping a lot of credits into the synth world. They're a little tore up. They have a whole fight they have going against the Vanduul. It's costing a lot of money. And so they see this as a big cash opportunity. So they start getting it ready for the normal land claim.
is discovering it, he actually wasn't the first person there. There were actually some settlers who had kind of moved into the system and were actually kind of starting to set up outposts and stuff like that.
He just made the big mistake of inviting Toshi to the party.
Yeah, and so he basically took the jump data and sold it to the UEE, who walked in and was like, sweet, 3 planets and a gas giant. Let's take that.
So this is coming on the heels, the UEE at the time, you know, they've been dumping a lot of credits into the synth world, like that. But the problem with all that business is that it's kind of a slower way to get money.
Yeah, it's sort of
Kind of like what we're going through recently last year with the Pioneer, where people can start buying plots of land in the synth world. They're a little tore up. They have a whole fight they have going against the Vandul. It's costing a lot of money. And so they see this as a big cash opportunity. So they start getting it ready for the normal land claim sales, kind of like what we're going through recently last year with the Pioneer, where people can start buying plots of lands and estates and stuff like that. But the problem with all that business,
I'm not going to go through all of it, but it's on there. It's a 49-minute video. I thought it might be at the very beginning because it kind of talks about that, but it's been mentioned several times. There you go. Here we go. Removed, yeah. Can we talk about leaks here? You can. I mean, I'm not going to respond to it too much, but turn the music back on. Earlier you posted about consoles and Star Citizen. This may be a silly question, but could we share the same persistent universe with Xbox players in the same servers? Probably. It's all the same servers. It really depends on it really depends on how if they go to consoles, how much architecture. Because like in Sony situation with Sony, I think they require the developers to buy their own servers, and in Microsoft, I think they supply their own servers. But Microsoft servers are different from the servers that CIG uses, so it'd be kind of complicated about that one. Yeah. Thank you, Dash, for that. Oops. Bye. Suddenly bye. Here we go. Office. But yeah, that's where you'd find that information, is that link that I posted there earlier. Yeah. The thing is it's a kind of hard. Let me pull up another thing. I don't think it's a console indication of a console port either, but I do think it's done with the idea of a console port in the future. Like when someone said, "Hey, let's do a radio menu," would make things simpler, you know. Let me find the lore. This. Stanton. System. Part 1. Also, this one. 1 second, guys.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy, where we give you an inside look at the layout, history, and background of the lore of one of the many star systems you'll find in Star Citizen. My name is Dave Haddock. I am the lead writer over here at Cloud Imperium Games, and I am going to be your guide today through the Stanton system. That's right, you've been hearing the name. If you've been keeping track of 3.0 development and are intimately familiar with a small section of it, if you've been playing the PU live, because that takes place entirely around Stanton 2, also known as Crusader. And anyway, so as with all the talk of 3.0 and stuff like that, it just seemed like a good opportunity to kind of take a comprehensive look at the system, and for those of you who aren't familiar with sort of the background of it, give you sort of a high-level, broad overview of the system and planets, and where the system unlocks. And I actually copied sources, though they technically fall under UEE control. They were sold off to corporations to help fund the synth world, and the corp's technically a UEE system, but is actually in 03, which is relatively recent. But there's actually some debate about it. Basically, the story was that there had been groups of settlers who had known about the system previous to its discovery, and had moved into the system before the UEE had even realized that it was there. So when Toshi discovered it, basically there had already been some outposts set up and stuff like that. But since technically he was the first person to sell the jump point route to the UEE, he was credited with its discovery, and sort of worse off for the settlers, they didn't have any rights to the land that they were inhabiting when the UEE surveyors came in to assess the system. But what they found there, and the reason probably why there was a lot of settlers there, was a really, really interesting sort of cosmic setup, if we want to talk about that. So we'll jump right into our area here. So when the UEE, getting back to our history, when the UEE entered what would be known as the Stanton system, what was it that they found that was super interesting? Well, let's have a quick look. So that was very, very beneficial for the UEE at the time, because at that time they were actually kind of having money problems. There was a thing called Project Archangel, which was also, they won't ever have to sort of deal with the sort of moral quandary of terraforming again, which was a sweet idea. It was fairly obvious that they basically were hurting, and came up with an idea that was equally called ingenious and despicable in the same. What they found there, and the reason probably why.
Yeah. They mentioned it a couple times. Pull the music back up. Anyways. Hey, Black Intellect. Close up, yeah. But 30 minutes is what we've been doing it pretty much. The way Columbus discovered America, exactly. Hey, Tumble Nova. Earlier you posted consoles and stars. Oh yeah. Leaks, and it had new option for to discharge cargo, possibly for unstable cargo for future missions. We already know that there's going to be unstable cargo and time-sensitive cargo. We also know that there's been there's a lot of stuff they've already talked about. So. That's what it does now for the in inventory. It's F plus left click. Volatile mining cargo, yeah. F plus left click, yeah. Yes, I am. All right, sorry. Got stuck on that one. let's pull up the latest. Hopefully it doesn't fuck up. I'm going to give you guys, as we've been started for this for a little bit, I am going to give you guys a look at the a preview of the Jumptown Wars. So if you guys are interested in Star Citizen, in Galactic Historian, if you're interested in this documentary I'm putting together that talks about the history of of how the Jumptown Wars started, and then the actual history of the Jumptown Wars, which is a player created conflict in Star Citizen, which has become put to lore. This is something I've been working on, thinking about for better part of a year. In the last 2 months, I've been collecting stories, and this is the first 20 minutes of this probably, or 18 minutes of this probably 30 to 45 minute, possibly longer documentary. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let's take a quick look.
We often think of wars as being between massive fleets and grand armies. Hell, for centuries, war has been exclusively a thing humans wage on other species, not each other. This place, it was different. It really was a war where everyone was on their own side. Human on human, wholesale slaughter. It's weird seeing this place so empty now. I remember alternating from running protection rackets to selling Widow when this place was at its peak. Part of me wishes we could go back, be there forever. The excitement was addicting, really. Now I just hope someday we can recapture what we had here in Jumptown. Paul Shelley, Jumptown Wars veteran, February 2950.
The Jumptown Wars were fought in a dozen places. From the cold surface of Yela to its orbital ring. From Grim Hex to Cry Astra refueling. More than 10,000 humans fought in it, and thousands of them died in it. Transport ships became drug runners, and fighters became enforcers. Huge fleets of human ships blotted out the skies, leaving human wreckage in their wake. Humans slaughtered one another wholesale here in human space, beside places with old human names. More people died than any previous conflict in Stanton. Whole fleets were reduced to ash in mere minutes. Men and women who had never committed a parking violation now found themselves drug smugglers in great convoys, fighting epic battles over a moon most of them had only heard about before. They were making history, and for many, it was one of the greatest adventures of their lives. The war would make some rich, ruin others, and change the lives of all who lived through it.
I find that living in the heavens suits me. Kelly Kaplan, CEO, Crusader Industries.
Like the many wars before it, the origins of the Jumptown Wars stretch back far beyond the first shots fired. First discovered in 2851, the Stanton system was always a special case. It was the only system to have multiple super-Earth-sized planets, and each and every one of them within the habitable zone. Stanton had 2 bidirectional large jump points connecting to Terra and Magnus. This meant Stanton was a new hub for faster trade between the major economic centers of Sol and Terra. The only issue was, when the system was first discovered by the UEE, they weren't the first humans there. Smugglers, settlers, and prospectors had already started to settle when the first UEE military forces arrived. Unfortunately for the first settlers, the system was too much of a prize for the military to allow them to remain. Declaring eminent domain on the system, the Navy brought in the most powerful ship in the fleet, a Bengal-class supercarrier, to enforce their will. Over the following years, the UEE Navy would systematically hunt down and remove every one of the squatters. Facing the might of the military, these settlers never stood a chance. By the late 29th century, the system was firmly in the hands of the UEE, who began terraforming the planets for human habitation. The Navy even built a lattice of platforms to float in the upper atmosphere of the partially terraformed gas giant Stanton II, to act as a shipyard and base. With the system firmly in their control, the government now found themselves in a quandary. What to do with it? The Empire was still in an economic slump, caused in the aftermath of the Messer dynasty. It was also in the middle of a century-long drought of colonial ambitions. There wasn't much hope to entice enough new settlers to colonize these verdant worlds, and keeping an active military presence to keep control of the system was getting expensive. Yet, they couldn't give up the economic and strategic system. What they needed was a way out, one that would come from an unorthodox place.
I am sick of people questioning our right to operate in this world. What is a corporation but the extension of the people? A government is elected through votes, while we have been elected by your credits.
Colonel Gavin E. Hurston.
With the fall of the Messers, many older companies tied to them fell as well. This left a vacuum, which a few companies managed to fill. One of these was the long-standing megacorp conglomerate ArcCorp. Its latest claim to fame was its line of fusion engines, built by a struggling engine manufacturer, Novalite, who they acquired in 2811. Their engines had quickly become the standard, which all others are judged by. The issue they were encountering was the requirements to make their engines. There was so much demand that they couldn't keep up with the orders, and there just wasn't enough space for them to operate their factories efficiently. When word came that the UEE was struggling to figure out what to do with Stanton, ArcCorp approached them with an offer. The company wanted to buy a continent on one of the worlds to serve as one massive factory. This demand was unheard of before, and many in the Senate were wary of giving one company so much land. Others, however, saw this as an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. Given the unique nature of the request and the unique nature of the system, some senators proposed a more ambitious plan. They wanted to sell an entire planet of the Stanton system to ArcCorp. ArcCorp agreed, and after vigorous debate in the Senate, a vote was passed allowing the sale of all the planets in the system. The government had some caveats to these sales. The system would never get representation in the Senate, fearing that any representative from the system would speak to the interest of the corporations and not the people. All UEE common laws were to be enforced and followed by the corporations on the planets and orbital bodies of the planets. Local jurisdictions fell to the companies themselves to enforce as they pleased. ArcCorp agreed to the terms and asked for the third planet in the system. The Senate quietly sent out offers to bid on the remaining planets. Hurston Dynamics had interest in the first planet, as it was the hottest and most desolate of the four. They were in need of more space to not only build but test their weapons. Microtech showed interest in the fourth planet in the system. An accident during terraforming had caused the planet to be habitable but much colder than was expected. They saw the natural cold as a benefit for their supercomputers, requiring less energy to keep them at optimal temperature. Crusader Industries, the newest of the corporations approached, also had an interest in buying the gas giant of Stanton II. Originally, Crusader was offered a buy one get one free option due to the lack of land on and around the planet, but turned it down. Their goal was to convert the old base into a headquarters and shipyard to build their large transports more efficiently. The planets were given the names of their companies as their official titles, with Stanton II becoming known as Crusader. Crusader Industries CEO, Kelly Kaplan, named the moons after the main characters of a popular 24th century morality tale called A Gift for Baba. The story followed three siblings as they made their way from Mars to Jupiter's moon Europa. They were traveling to give the perfect gift to their grandmother Baba. The moon that was covered in over 100 volcanoes was named after Selin, who was the most angry of the children. The dusty red moon, with an almost perfect orbit around the gas giant, was named Daymar, after the child who was most easily lost in the story. The cold moon, covered in a water ice crust, was named Yella, after the oldest of the siblings who was said to be cool and calculating. Little did anyone know that the cool world would soon become home to the cold and calculating realities of war. During the early years of the UEE's control over Stanton, many prospectors made their way into the system with the government's blessing. The ring around Stanton II's icy moon was especially valuable. So much so that Green Imperial built a housing exchange, or HEX station, inside one of the larger asteroids. This was meant to be a temporary structure, offering a bed and some basic services to those lone prospectors around Yela. As the system developed with its new owners, it quickly became a mecca for industry from all over the Empire. Scientists, entrepreneurs, mercenaries, traders, and haulers all flocked to the system to take advantage of the burgeoning trade. New outposts were built all over the system, including the moons of Crusader. They ranged from mining operations to research labs and even family farms. This economic boom attracted other unsavory types to seek their fortune as well. Pirates, outlaws, smugglers, and other criminals snuck their way into the system, raiding and picking off vulnerable transports, leeching off the success of these new lands and the lack of formal protection from the UEE. Because of the dangers and the stiff competition from larger groups, many of the entrepreneurs and independent outposts and stations of the Stanton system were abandoned, left to the elements. Green Imperial's HEX station was no exception. As the valuable materials of Yela's ring were mined out, fewer and fewer people called the station home. Finally, Green Imperial would officially close the station in 2938. The former mining hab would not remain closed for long. New gangs like the Nine Tails, Nova Riders, and countless other syndicates and outlaws took up residence and used the abandoned station as a lucrative base of operations. Many of the abandoned outposts also found themselves repurposed to be dead drops for smugglers or rally points for pirates. One in particular, a former research lab in the southern hemisphere, nestled inside a crater against a large mountain, quietly opened up in 2948. The locals would come to call it Jump Town.
There's no credits yet, but this would be where the credits go. Good? Yes, no? Discount Ken Burns narration? Ouch. Ouch, Tire Chasers. Ouch. Takes a lot of A-. Thanks, Black Intellect. To be fair, I was trying to get his. A lot of your time lapses proves some use. A lot of those, almost all of that was from Haskaha, or what was the other one I pulled from? Alexander Belov or Raul Antonio were the most people I pulled those images and stuff from. Some of the images were from people who donated their own images. And there's one guy who named Flix, Flikx, who I pulled some of his footage. He's the only one who had like cinematic stuff of like a lot of the other stuff. So a lot of that footage is stuff that I found from other things. Retweet, spread the love. Taking off points for lateness. Thanks. It's going to be even later. It just takes so long to make these things. Yeah, there's a couple people have done them. I think what it is to... I think the key is Diablos. Sorry, I'm eating dinner. Take it in 4K, downsample it to 1080 to keep the footage the same size, and then kind of like pan the video across, because you can actually, with some editors like my editor, you can actually you can like move the footage across the screen, so it gives it a faux sense of movement. That was interesting. I'm late to the party, but you could create a great aerial fill in the location documentary. Aerial what? You like letters from Jumptown or Senate speeches, etc.? I mean, that's the thing, is that the next part's going to have actual stories. Like, let me pull up a story that was recorded by Detox. See if I can fill it up. Where are you, Detox? Here we go. So this was a story that was that Detox is reading from Amun Grask.
Well, in the beginning, as a legitimate hauler, it was the best thing that could happen. All of the pirates that had played the system before were tied up, and competition for outpost trading was tied up since everyone wanted to do the Jumptown run. Then the pirates started attacking, hitting up the Crusader cry.
Yeah, so you guys got the idea. Aerial America? Oh, is it like shows off like stuff from I'd have to check it out because I don't watch TV. We'll see how it goes. I'll ask Penguin in the future if he wants to do it, but he's doing this sans payment right now. I'm gonna have to pay him in the future for sure. Because he's really good and he's nailed it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That's the full part 1, which is for the kind of the background. The next part, or first episode I should say, the next part, which is part 4, which I've been working on, it talks about Widow, explains what Widow is, the details about Widow, and that Jumptown was the main place you could get Widow. And then the next section after that talks about how Jumptown was was first discovered and started being run by small pirates, but it wasn't, it was small. Not a lot of people went there. Then the next section after that talks about how an economic downturn in metals, which actually happened in game, where metals became less valuable, had people scrambling to find better ways of making money, local haulers. And then they started discovering Jumptown and started realizing the profits are available. And the next section talks about the military response, the militia and the gangs and the outlaws, the players who get involved in this run. Then we talk about the details, like the next two sections talking about the details of like tactics that were used, different stories about stuff, weapons, events that happened during it. And the last section talks about the government finding out about it, the UEE finding out about it and using it as a leverage to start getting Stanton back into line, which would then correspond with interdictions in Star Citizen, as well as new drug labs opening, which caused the end of the Jumptown Wars. So. You're talking about for the cures for COVID? Yeah. Hey, Captain Willie. Changing your name there. I like it. Letters from Vega. Yeah. We'll be starting here in about an hour for that one, but... like the name. To Tin Can. Yes. It'd be great to have a Widow selling political corruption scandal like senators. The problem about Widow is that I don't know if it's illegal in the UEE. It's a controlled substance, but I don't know if it's illegal throughout the UEE. There may be places where it is legal inside the UEE borders. Aerial Stanton system. That might work. Might do that. New Amsterdam. What about New York? So if you guys have any questions about lore or you want to have any discussions, topics, if you guys want to talk about something Star Citizen, feel free to do so. We'll be doing this for another hour or so. We'll be continuing to stream, but we're going to be moving on to another, not Star Citizen. We'll be doing a game called Pulsar, which is a game. It's a space game. It's a multi-crew game. It's a fantastic game. If you like Star Citizen, you want to see multi-crew content come into space into it, watch the Pulsar stream because it'll show you how to do multi-crew. Is there pot in Star Citizen? No. The closest thing to pot would probably be Widow. I want to say, yeah. And if there is pot, they changed the name. And the reason why there isn't is because Australia's got weird laws. Cauliflower. What are the other cities in Mars other than the New Boston and Lore? Landing, I think. Port Renatus. Port Renatus. Port Renatus is the capital city of Mars. It's where it's the oldest city, the oldest non-Earth city, and it was built as a modular city to, like, the center of it is old. It's 21st century old, and as it goes out, it becomes into newer structures. But the center of the city is all old structures that have been preserved, including old relics from Mars's exploration history. So. There are alien drugs. Well, the thing about things like St. Patrick's Day is that St. Patrick's Day is not a very human-centered holiday. It's very Irish. And so they changed the name to fit more within the lore of Star Citizen. And a lot of the names are just to make it so that they can advertise it without being... without falling into trouble, you know. Doing good, Dovkin. Question, is there any information on Xi'an pirates and smugglers? What do they go after? Not really. We don't have a lot of information on the Xi'an outside of... We've got some very specific information. We know that there are Xi'an outlaws. We know that there are Xi'an defectors. People who have left the Xi'an Empire and lived in the UAE or Banu or other places. But we don't know a lot of specifics about, like, their underworld or anything else like that. Because they're very, very secretive. The Xi'an will tell you everything you need to know and nothing more. That's kind of how they work. Like, oh, you need to know about this cure? We'll give you exactly the details of how to create the cure, but we're not going to tell you any of the side effects or any of the things that you can also use this for, because you only need this cure for this one disease. That's that kind of thing. Or you need to know you want this weapon? Cool. We'll build this exact weapon for you and not tell you we can use any of these parts for other means. How's the election going? Last I checked, the next election is this month. So I don't know when time this month, but I think it's the beginning of this month or the end of this month. It's down to the top 10, I believe. There has been descriptions of Banu food and Xi'an food. The Xi'an food, they're carrions, so they eat a lot of rotten food. Whereas the Banu eat similar to humans, but I believe that the rumor is they eat their own pets. I don't know if that's true or not. Defectors are army leavers? No, probably. You got to remember that the Xi'an are hierarchical, so they have families, and those families are like those clans are what you're part of. There is a clan that's leading the empire, but then there are other like clans all over the Xi'an Empire, and they all control different regions. But we don't even know who controls what or for what reason. We don't know if they're locked into their clans. There's a lot of stuff about the Xi'an which they have left for us to find out. Hey, Warden. Did we get raided? I didn't see anything. We did. Uber Nerd, thanks so much for the raid. How you doing, buddy? So in lore, would an org be able to build a base in the Hades system? Yes. Technically, no, but yes. The thing about the Hades system is that it's protected, sort of, but it's more like a keep out, you know, violators will be prosecuted kind of thing. Like it's just a big old flashing warning sign. Thank you, Ubernerd. Can we do a follow command for Ubernerd? If you guys haven't, If you don't know who Ubernerd is, he's a fantastic streamer, worth your time, worth your energy, worth your subscription. Honestly, if you're on Twitch and you haven't seen Ubernerd, you're watching Star Citizen. Are you serious? Exactly. Prosecutors will be violated. It's art. It's just follow. Exclamation word follow, but it's only you're not a mod. You were on the captain's table. Did it not update? Oh, it did update it. Oh, so when are you on the captain's table? Do you want to come on the captain's table in April? I know you normally stream during the captain's table, which is why I haven't asked you, but if you want to come in April... Let me see the Saturdays. Would you be down for April 11th? I can get you in April 11th. It's cool. Thank you, Diablos. Cool. I'll put you down. How's the stream there, Uber? Not Irish, definitely not human. Ouch. No, that's not what I meant. The Irish are a very specific holiday. So. I have this germ of an idea I need for planning rooms / areas in Star Citizen, like real pilot flight planning room that they will come in handy when the game's released. Tire chases, you're not wrong. I think that's going to be the case. A lot of people need to remember that Star Citizen is going to be about planning. It's going to be a lot of planning. It's going to be you plan your session out ahead of time and things go wrong. And if you're just looking to like pop in, there'll be people who will be doing planning things they'll need your help for. But a lot of Star Citizens you're not going to be able to kind of just like, what's going to happen to me today without having problems. Yes, there is a lot of history for a ground army in the UEE. The UEE army is a very long-standing military. As far as I can tell, the UPE army was made up of various nations' armies put together under one army structure. So you'd have a European battalion. You'd have an American battalion. You'd have a Martian battalion. You might have a Terran battalion. And they'd be under officers who were just part of the army all the way up to the top. But they would each be regiment. Their groups would be, I think it was battalions. It might be regiments, probably battalions. There would be groups of, large groups were from the same region, if not the same country, and then plopped together, and then you'd have larger higher-ups kind of in the structure for the military itself. And the UEE army changed that to be like everyone has their own. They're all mixed. But yeah. The army is well known. They fought in the Tavaran Wars. And I still don't know if it's Tavaran or Tavaran, but I'm just going to say Tavaran. Was fun, had fun, did some mining. Didn't crash or lose at all, but the character reset loop is a tad annoying. What do you mean? Is there some issues with the character resets going on? Any other questions? Big time bug. Like there's an issue where if you reset your character, you have to constantly reset your character. Because I remember someone having to do that, where they had to like reset their character like 4 times. But as far as the UEE Army fought in both Tavaran Wars. Well, the second Tavaran War. The Nova Tank, I'm sorry, was built for the Army. Tumbril builds for the Army as well, just in general. They were built for the Army. The Army is more of a long-standing occupation force than they are a quick reaction force. The Navy basically takes care of almost anything that's immediate that needs to be taken care of. But if you say wanted to invade an army, invade a planet, you would take the Army. So the Army would then land with the Navy support on a planet, and they would be the ones who conquer a world. I think I said there is. I just don't remember which ones are which. We know that there's an alien drug, I think by the Banu. Etam may be a Xi'an drug. I have to look at Etam. Let me look up Etam real quickly, because I think Etam is not a human drug. Yeah, it's Xi'an. Etam is Xi'an. Etam is a drug and herb of Xi'an origin, commonly known to humans by its street name, Flow, Blinder, or TikTok, with an appearance similar to dried green tea leaves, green and granular. Side effects include hyper-awareness, cognitive enhancement, and hyperfocus, which has made it popular among students and workers. Etam is basically Ritalin. Cases involving Etam and coral have increased recently. Most involve people so engrossed in a task that they neglect to eat, sleep, or take care of other basic bodily functions, thus promoting a call to authorities from a friend or relative in an effort to get that person help. Possession is legal in most of the UEE, however, not in jurisdiction of Crusader Industries. There is a 2,000 UEC fine. Trafficking it anywhere in the UEE carries 10,000 UEC fine. Unsurprisingly, ETM is completely unregulated in Levski. No, Widow is actually illegal to use in the UEE. She records silly dances, yes. It's either alien or elvish, yeah. Slam. Slam is a pain. So slam is essentially what is it called? It's meth. Slam is meth. Widow is opium. Neon is ecstasy. Maze is another Xi'an drug, but it's not proven. It's a hallucinogen. It's similar to LSD. Etam is Ritalin. The only illegal drugs that are 100% Class A is for across the UEE is Slam and Widow. Maze, Neon, and Ultratoxin are all not. Ultratoxin is also not human. It is human, but it is and it's altruchia toxin. It's a muscle relaxer. Muscle relaxer. Fuck off. I'm eating food. Muscle relaxer. Yeah, it's ecstasy. Hmm? Slam is meth. Slam is straight up meth. Its definition is painkiller and fear inhibitor used as first as a steroid by athletes. Vials of the substance are cracked, ingested, and inhaled as a gas. Dependent on users develop involuntary muscle twitches called the shakes. The twitches result primarily from drug use and are not triggered by withdrawal effects. Slam is considered a Class A substance. Trafficking and possession are heavily penalized in the UAE. Ah, funny story. Tisia's name, Twitch, is because she's a Slam user. Likely. Someone here jumped down when the drugs kicked in. What, Slam? Slam is like a cyan colored like, I won't say crystals, but I don't know if that look like crystals. They said last update that they're planning on not reworking the moons entirely, but they're adding more details to it. They're no longer reworking, like, the moons and the moons. They're going to add more details to them later, though. We need to have red light districts with NPCs that exhibit drug behaviors and withdrawal symptoms. That would make sense, and I would think that down the line they'd probably add that. Like, shadier parts of town and stuff like that, but... and that's the thing. Like, if you look at Lorville, if you look at Area 18, they're all very small compared to what they could be. So, and because they're all built with the same kind of structures, they could easily just kind of like Lego block it, essentially, and build it out further if they need to. But they also have to make sure performance hits and those kind of things. I think so. I assume so. We've had outposts on every moon since their launch. Daily driver ships. Daily driver ships are the Auroras and the Mustangs. I actually did a little bit of a video on this a while back, but essentially, depending on where you live in the UAE will determine if you have a spaceship or not. The Auroras and the Mustangs are the economy ships. Anyone can buy them if they're pretty cheap to buy for most people. Like, you know, even if you look at the ships in game in terms of UEC right now, I think like they're 20,000 UEC, which is nothing. Even if you get paid dirt, that's pretty easy to get with a loan. And those are very much daily driver kind of work ships that will take you to and from work. But most people in like Crusader, for instance, or in the Stanton system, probably don't own a ship. If you live on Lorville, if you live in Area 18, if you live in New Babbage, or if you live in Orison, you likely would either walk or take public transit to where you need to go. $85X is a little bit more expensive. It would be more like that would be kind of like a fancy vehicle. It wouldn't be a daily driver. An Avenger would be more like a Ford 5.0, or like a Charger. What activities are there going to be in the Grizzle system? All it has is an asteroid belt. Grizzle only has an asteroid belt? Let's double check that. Probably mining. Yeah, probably mining. Oh, this is the Fair Chance Act that they failed to protect, wasn't it? Yeah, this is the Perry Line one. It's not just an asteroid belt. It's like a protostar. Like the whole planet, the whole system is exhibiting huge amounts of radiation. But there are planetoids or like asteroids which may have life on it. It was potentially a Fair Chance Act. Or no, it wasn't life. They wanted to study it because it was a protostar, and they wanted it to be covered by the Fair Chance Act because they wanted to study a formation of a solar system since it was so new as a solar system. Yeah, you got to remember that right now when we're dealing with transporting, you're dealing with we're missing the idea that NPCs can transit with ships. So an NPC can get on board a freelancer, you know, or a cutlass or something like that. Just pop into the cargo bay, and then that, you know, that's kind of like a taxi, go to and from locations. Let alone a star, you know, liner, but that's more for long distance. You know, people hopping on a Valkyrie or that kind of situation too, to transport to where you need to go. Jesus, your daily driver's an Orion. My other car's a 600. My other ship is a 600i. Yeah, it has a star, but it's got a belt around it. But it's not really belt as much as it's gas. It's got rocks and gas around it. It's a proto system. Like it's an early solar system, which is pretty cool. Owning a ship at Hurston would be a dream. Most people at Hurston are just looking to not die. Yeah. I think players will have to become UEE surveyors in order to access areas protected by the Fair Chance Act. The TAMSA system is completely restricted, and it makes me wonder how else players would get there. Probably. The thing about the Fair Chance Act is that they're not really good at enforcing it. The only reason why TAMSA is under the Fair Chance Act is because all new systems discovered are put under Fair Chance Act until it's been surveyed effectively. And that could take years, or could take months. But like there are systems there are systems which have protection from the Fair Chance Act, but like OSO, I think is what it's called, where the Osoians are. But that system, that there's a planet that has them, but you can still travel through the system. You just can't go down to the planet. That's the key with the Fair Chance Act. Probably not next week, because it hasn't reached open PTU yet, but it's likely going to hit open PTU by the end of this week, or at least first wave PTU. And then open PTU is usually a week or two later, and then they have they'll go live if everything works. So. Hey, Elif. This is Galactic Historian Office Hours. For you guys who don't know about Galactic Historian, it's a lore series I do on YouTube. Right now, mostly focused on Star Citizen. So, if you want to know more about the lore and background of Star Citizen, you can go there. But because there are a lot of people who have interest in other aspects of Star Citizen, just want to ask questions, feel free to ask them. So this is kind of more of a hangout stream. Discuss it. We're going to be going on to another. We'll still be streaming, but we'll be playing. We'll not be doing this. We'll be doing something else in about a little over 30 minutes. CIG offices are shut down, but they work remotely. I hope some of the science place, same place to retrieve data samples from the Fair Chance Act status. That'd probably be pretty good. You could do that in Ascend, yeah. They've done it before. We'll see, but I doubt it. I know at least one of the guys who works in the server deployment stuff, and I have caught him doing remote work when he should be sleeping. So I know they are able to do remote work from without being in the office. You got to remember, Heliowolf, the game is made around the world, so there's not just one office where everything's made. There are things that need to be made and changed that were worked on in the UK, and there's some that's in Austin, some in LA, and some in Frankfurt. So the game is being worked on by 4 different offices. So you don't. It's already remote. They already have to work on things remotely and pass those builds on to the other teams. When the sun goes down, when they go off work, kind of thing. So because of that remote status already, it's not that different from working from home. The major thing would be meetings, but most of the times they do meetings via Skype and that kind of stuff anyways. Yeah, they don't have, they have servers at their office, but those servers are mostly for test purposes. Yeah. Yes, Nudsley. It's a scam. The game's a scam. Everything's going to shut down. And it is Tops. How's it going, Nudsley? Nice. The way my life is going, I can see it happening. Ooh, new Galactic PD updates. The Mars tragedy. Litova. Perry Line. Siege of Tiber. All right, this is a good time for them to update stuff. Let's go over this real quick. So, Mars tragedy, disaster, Great Mars tragedy of 25. Terraforming disaster, air and atmospheric processes causing new generated. This is all stuff we already know, but that's if I'm put it up there. Despite resulting in sudden suffocation of 4,876 people, the public outcry against terraforming followed. Following the tragedy, halted development of the technology for 20 years. In the mid-2150s, better safety protocols and more precise atmospheric processing standards were made. Standards thanks to data gathered from this event. The Mars was successfully terraformed. Yes. And then we've got the Tova is the central code of ethics and the main religion of the Xi'an people. It was established roughly in 33,900 BCE by early Xi'an. The core of Litova centers around the concept of time, specifically that intent and effect of all actions, no matter how small. It was codified into Xi'an law in 1.0 or I.O. 19,747 BCE by Ya'le'ese, Emperor of Ru'a, the only surviving daughter of her house and the first Xi'an emperor. A dedicated commune of Litova is located in the planet Kaipua 3, Ra'itip Uang. I can't do Xi'an pronunciations. That's cool. I didn't realize that Litova was a tenant of their religion, or a tenant of their government, which is cool. A lot of people don't realize that the Xi'an also are matriarchal. They're not anymore, but originally most, if not all, of the Xi'an emperors were women. You notice that this says Emperor Ru'a was the only surviving daughter of her house and the first Xi'an emperor. A lot of people they go, well, shouldn't she be called an empress? It's like, emperor is gender neutral for the Xi'an. The Perry Line was a military distinction for a group of 8 planet systems marked by the borderlands between Xi'an and human-controlled space. They're all named after the gods of war. Xi'an Human Cold War from 2530 to 2789, named after Armistead Perry, the Navy general who introduced the strategy in 2542. The United Empire of Earth, UEE, designated the systems as no-fly zones and utilized them as military staging grounds. Each system was named after a god of war. After the signing of the Perry Line Pact, the systems were divided evenly among the Xi'an and human governments, while the UEE maintained the original names of its systems, Gurgil, Horus, Oya, and Tohil. The Xi'an renamed Hador to Yamaon, Indra to Kayuka, Pallas to Thrusong, and Virtus to Lau systems. Go. Lost Squad. Yeah, it's about the fall of Caliban. Yep, written by Jana Turman, Hadrian Weir, and produced by Devil May Care Productions. The series dramatizes the story of the 88th UEE Naval Support Squadron, who famously gave their lives to allow as many people as possible to escape the Caliban system during the Vandal invasion of 2884. The first episode premiered in Spectrum in 2944. Siege of Tiber lasted 4 years, consisted of prolonged ground and air engagements, mass bombings, and military blockade of the Orion and Viking VS-1 jump points by Vandu forces, and the Virgil and Oberon jump points by UEE forces. Losses were heavy on either side. Conservative estimates put human and Vandal combined casualties in the lower millions. The siege ended with the UEE defeat on 29th of December 2736, when a Vandal kingship jumped into the system. It's one of the first times it's the first time that the Vandal kingship had showed up. The first couple years of the siege, humans beat the shit out of the Vandal and had no problems with it. It was just like, fuck you. And then towards the end of that whole system, or towards the end of the siege, the humans were caught unprepared. The Bengal carrier had left to go deal with a potential uprising somewhere else, and it resulted in the Vandals showing up when that was the worst possible moment, and then decimating them. Orion's what you hear people talk about when they with Operation Pitchfork. That's the goal, is to retake Orion. Vandal capital ships that serve as apparent flagships for Vandal clans. The kingship is the largest type of Vandal capital asset encountered and is the most powerful class of known warship. Functionally, a kingship is a dreadnought, fleet carrier, command and control ship, and assault transport combined into a single hull. They are typically the centerpiece of any large-scale Vandal raid and operate with a large number of other craft, including ships of the line, support vessels, screens of skirmishers, xenoanthropologists, and screens of skirmishers. Xenoanthropologists believe that the complexity of their construction is a key aspect of Vandal martial culture, signifying the clan's power and strength. And we've got the Vandal themselves. Hostile beings capable of spaceflight, quantum travel, and jump point navigation. Humans first made contact with Vandal after a clan raided Dell Township on Armitage, Orion 3, killing all settlers but one. Every subsequent encounter with the Vandal has resulted in mass deaths. The location of their homeworld is unknown. As a culture, the Vandal seem to lack central government or command structure. Each clan operates as a self-governing entity. All attempts to establish diplomatic connections between the humans and the Vandal have failed. The reason why there's one is because one person was missing, not because they survived. Everyone but one was killed. That one person apparently was abducted by the Vandal or disappeared. They don't know what happened to him. The Xi'an calendar, modern year Xi'an Razian, is measured by the celestial mechanics of their former homeworld, Razian, Hitoan 3. It differs from the human calendar in a number of significant ways. For example, each Xi'an year is equivalent to 1.28 human years, is assigned a number counting upwards from when the current imperial house ascended the throne, and is prepared with a number that represents the corresponding imperial age. The first imperial age began in human year blah, 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 and the third began in human year 501 AD, I believe, maybe BC, and was recorded as 3.00 or 3.0. Before 1.0, Xi'an did not share the unified calendar. Then there's the Massacre of Garon 3, Tide, and CATV. But it's pretty cool. Well, Starship doesn't have a BFG 110,000. Yes, Heliowolf, 100%. Paul's not talking? I am talking. What are you talking about? What activities are going to be in the Chronos system? It doesn't look promising for any profession except for maybe cargo haulers for the synth world. That's probably it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of systems which are going to be not have a lot of gameplay for other people. Like Pyro is not going to really be a huge gameplay for players who are looking to enforce the law. Vandal just need hugs. Do you think the Vandal employ other species as slaves for production of construction? No, I don't think they do. I think the Vandal are super self-assured. Based off of what I can tell about the Vandal, they are likely xenophobic in the way that anything but them is inferior. and as a result wouldn't bother taking prisoners. The only reasons why they would likely take prisoners is not for slavery, but for information. They're a martial species. They're all about combat. Not all the Vandal systems. There's a lot of Vandal systems in the game that we know about, which were former human systems. In fact, Armitage, Orion 3, still has humans in it. Even though Armitage fell a long time ago, the Vandal and the Vandal control it. There are still human survivors who, and scavengers who live in the wreckage of the old city. They're like the Klingon if they didn't have a home world. We don't know if the Vandal have a home world. They're more clan-based, so each individual clan fights amongst each other, and they rarely unite, if ever, that we know of. In fact, humans have likely fought several different clans, not just a unified one, over the years. Mm-hmm. They obviously built their technology, so they obviously have people who build ships for them and build new technologies. But it's likely stagnant. They're likely not building new types of ships. They're probably building ships that they've always built for years and just modifying them for the purposes they need them to. Klingons also have a sense of honor. There is no honor in the Vandal. The Vandal are not an honorable species. They don't have a sense of honor and duty. It's more like maybe amongst other Klingon or the Klingons, maybe amongst other Vandal, they'll have a sense of honor, but non-Vandal, turn them into mulch and throw them into the ship, kind of thing. We actually know that there are less aggressive clans because we know the Banu actually have some limited trading with Vandal clans. Though they're obviously not in the same side of the system as humans are. You mean like BattleTech? The different types of clans that existed for the was it the Crusader clans and the was it called Peacekeeper? Can't remember. Is there any reasons to buy ship upgrades in the current patch? I won't just lose them with an error 30k or ship destruction or bug glitch. No. You buy a ship upgrade, it is stuck to your ship until you remove it. And then it's still in your account. It always exists in your account until your character progression is wiped. Another problem with the Vandals is that the Vandal likely have similar actions like lions do, where some males may, or maybe females, probably, I don't know how the Vandal species, they could be both, split off from the main clan and will build their own kingship, and then that kingship will become the headquarters, the kind of home for all the Vandal. And that will become a new clan. So each clan has a kingship, and that kingship is the center of that clan. But it's hard to tell which clan is which, because there are maybe thousands of tiny clans that exist with kingships which are not filled out yet. Yeah, long-term persistence also ensures it remains. Probably death. Probably lots of death. They could be. Well, the government's ruled by their female. Or the government doesn't exist. Or like females, females don't exist in for the Vanduul. They may reproduce asexually. Yeah. They could. I don't think we don't have a lot of information, so they could have no major differences between the male and female species. They could have multiple genders or multiple sexes as well. It's really hard to tell because they're first of all, they're alien, and CIG is very, very, very okay with making alien be alien, except for the whole like Star Trek rule, which is like they're all humanoid. They're humanoid, but but they're also okay with like just random shit happening, putting that in there. And they're also very key. We just don't know. We don't have a lot of information about the Vanduul. Even in the lore, we don't have a lot of information about the Vanduul. Mostly it's by studying their weapons and their ships. That's about it, though. In all the wrong places, yes. They could have a caste system. I believe likely, though, that the Vanduuls are probably martial in the sense that every person from the day you were born, you were given an assignment, but you're not stuck to that assignment. So you're born, they're like, this child's going to be an engineer. Why? Because we need engineers. Not because you're an engineer and your parents were engineers or anything like that. It's just, we need this person to do this. Based off of your abilities, then you get assigned to different roles based off the needs of the clan. And if you don't like that, you can get the fuck out, kind of thing. And that's how new clans are formed. I want to be a warrior. You're a janitor. Fuck you. I'm off, you know. He has to be able to portray them, yeah. That's my theory on the Vanduul culture, though. Well, think about it. Quarians have a similar situation. They have no homeworld. It's the needs of the fleet, the needs of the armada. And with the Vanduul, they really have no options. They're a species that are very limited in number and is entirely dedicated to the art of war. You need to put the people into roles that are needed rather than what our people want. Freedom is a luxury amongst people like the Vanduul. Possibly. I think you'd also likely have upgraded exploration shields, so that as long as you have those shields activated, they could help you. They could protect you in some way, or even armor, because that's one of the things they're going to add in the future is armor. So instead of having armor that's designed to repel lasers or ballistics, you could have armor that is atmospheric armor that's designed to like stop corrosive elements. Is that really true? Is probably propaganda again? You'll have to figure that out. I mean, think about it. What we know about the Vanduul is we've only seen their military. We've seen nothing of their civilian life. We don't even know if there's a civilian life. And we know that the kingship is the center of their fleets. So if we don't know that they have any means to settle down, that the only reason why they go to planets is to harvest materials, then they must be spaceborne. If they're spaceborne, where are their civilians? If they have no civilians, then then everyone must be martial. And if you're dealing with a martial species that doesn't have settlements, permanent settlements, and their only settlements is space becomes incredibly important. It becomes incredibly important to maintain space worthiness. Measure Stoogers this whole time. All right, y'all. I'm going to do something real quickly. Don't go anywhere. For those of you guys watching on YouTube, thank you guys for watching. We're going to be moving over to Twitch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If not, well, whatever. We'll see you guys next Tuesday for doing